TeamMatch140.com, continuing my video series on the correspondence team match played between my video lessons group and the team CARPE DIEM. This was played on board 169 of 210 boards. Our man is 0117. He's playing against ADAR 1973. And let's have a look at the two games. Okay, we have I guess we call a modern defense. And here, white opts to play e5. Shut that bishop diagonal down. But I think this is premature. It's not a bad move. I'll talk to my students and say, you're not any worse off from having this. But it kind of restricts some of white's options. Black hasn't yet committed his pawn structure here in the center. He's probably going to place d6, maybe even c6. But maybe he wants to take a square away from the knight to get to f6. But what's wrong with this? Just simply developing a piece. I mean, we have several logical moves that could be played instead. And keeping the pawns here maintains control of these squares. I could tell my students, when in doubt, develop something. Maybe run an advance of these later. Get your pieces out, and then you can figure out what you want to do. So, anyway, Black immediately challenges those pawns, and this induces white to play another pawn up. So here white's played 4 moves, they've all been pawn moves. And since white has taken away f6 from the black knight, black decides to develop his knight to h6. Now, black has 2 pieces out, white has none. It's time to get developed, white, right? Well, guess what's going to happen? If you've been watching this series, you know what's going to happen. Oh, there goes a rook pawn move. Totally horrible move. I'm just going to keep calling them horrible because that's what they are. Does not further development, weakens the king side. I seriously don't know why you guys are playing these. I've put my conjectures forward in my video on how to win games against the serious opening mistake. Okay, we'll backtrack a second here. What is wrong with developing a piece? Are you afraid of him putting something on g4? That's my conjecture, that you're afraid of something going here. Well, so what? Okay, develop your knight. See, that much closer to castling. Now, is this knight going to pose any threat on that square? I don't think so. What about this pin? Well, number 1, you can break the pin. Number 2, you can just kick this bishop now. Give black a chance to develop the white queen. You want to make exchanges which are favorable to you. And then we got a tempo on this pawn for what it's worth. And white has the bishop pair. Okay? If black doesn't take, he's got to retreat his bishop somewhere. Where's he going to put it? Way back here? Black is not planning to use the g4 square. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. Black is not. Period. So you're wasting a move and weakening your position. Okay? So now knight f5. Now it's kind of interesting and intriguing what can happen here. Suppose white decides to make yet another pawn move. Well, watch this. Knight g3 attacks the rook. Okay, now we're going to take it. And look at that. Black wins a pawn. You can't take with the d pawn because it's pinned. If you take with the f pawn, black just munches it. Hello. Attack on the rook, attack on the pawn. White's a pawn down, can't castle, his king's exposed. And all this because he pushed his rook pawn. Okay? These moves lead to trouble. Okay? So, white doesn't play g4, he plays knight e2. And there's captain. I think a good move for black is just exchange queens here and deprive white the right to castle. See, it is an excellent move, and I'll just show you a possible line. See, both sides still need to complete their development. But right now, see this knight on e2? He's watching the square that the pawn used to watch. Right? Pawn used to keep what kept black out of g3. Well, it doesn't anymore because white insists on keeping something out of g4, which was never going to happen. Okay? So the moment black or white moves this knight, maybe black will stick that knight on g3 and collect the bishop pair. But the knight needs to move most likely. Why? Because how are you going to get this bishop developed? Well, maybe you could play g4 and develop it that way. But let's just make a few moves here. Let's watch what happens when we try to develop. Okay, now I'm going to hold off the decision to develop this piece just yet. I'm going to get a couple other pieces out. Let's see, knight c3, and now black plays knight c. I'm going to put on c6. Now we're going to put this bishop d2. Okay, fine. I'll put this bishop on e6. Now look at this. Black has 4 minor pieces developed, and he's castled. White is lagging behind in development. Black is ready to put a rook on the d file and threaten a knight e3 check. Okay, so maybe it's time to go ahead and play g4 now. Okay, well, that's fine. Let's go centralize the knight, put it on d4, and I think black has a great game. White can finally develop his bishop. Okay, but black's just picking up a lead in development, and there's latent threats against this bishop on d2. The king is stuck on d1, can't get the rooks connected, so this wouldn't necessarily have gone the way I'm showing. This is just a sample line. Depriving your opponent of castling privileges right out of the opening is almost always preferable, and it would have been so in this case. So, black has a lead in development. White's weakened his king side. You don't need to keep the queens on the board. Okay, let's see what happens now. Okay, white decides to move a piece a second time in the opening. Why? Well, because he didn't have access for this bishop. But now he's weakened the g3 square. Remember that his pawn used to cover. Whoops, there it is. Now white can't castle kingside. And this is kind of a maybe not the best move. Just good to go ahead and develop. Maybe kick this knight, and plan castle, kick the knight, put the bishop on c6, try to get control of the d file. Black is for choice here, but e6 is a mistake, and white makes a mistake too. White plays queen g4, and I'm hovering it over there, but he should play queen f3 because this has some counterplay on the b7 square. There are lines where if black takes, white can stop and take this first, menacing the rook. So it's about an even proposition there. But queen g4, I think black should probably still take this, but black opts to try something unique and play c5 anyway. And the minor pieces are exchanged in a slightly different way, not directly, but indirectly. And slowly but surely, white's catching up in development. Now b3 weakens a lot of squares around the king side or queen side, but it saves the pawn. And black finds a little tactic, pushes the pawn, threatens a discovery, and after some routine exchanges, now he trades the queens. White's sitting there trying to collect back that pawn on c2. He's temporarily down a pawn. He'll win it back, but black finds ways to start chipping away at the white center. First, he plays f6, and white takes the pawn. He's got a plan. White makes a pin, figuring he's going to regain his pawn. Now, black can't take this pawn because he would drop his bishop, but black makes a pin of his own. And this is all brought forward because white bothered to weaken this king side with h3. There you have it. So now bishop takes, loses a piece because the f-pawn is pinned. Can't recapture. So the net result is black is going up 2 pawns, just like that. He won the e-pawn, he won the f-pawn. And now it's just a matter of attrition to trade pieces off and win this game. And, whoops, I'm going a little too quick, but it really doesn't matter. White has absolutely no hope here. His pieces are just coming off the board and can't do a thing. And there goes a set of rooks. This forces the other rook off the board. And, I'm just going to run through the moves. 2 pawns up. How do you evaluate a knight and pawn ending? Well, you remove the knights in your mind and look at the position. And chances are whoever wins the pawn ending wins the knight ending. Well, Black clearly wins this king and pawn ending, so it shouldn't be any surprise that the 2 pawns up is enough. And I'll just kind of, like I say, play through the moves, but there's really not much going on here. Now White finally decides to trade knights and reaches a lost king and pawn. Now he reaches a lost king and pawn ending. But he decides he's going to play it on for a while. And I don't know why he played it on. Maybe because the other game was going. Or some people just keep playing these games out. It was terrible when this happened when you were playing by postcard. You had to wait 7 to 10 days to see somebody would keep playing a lost game. But this is a little different. And now Black's managed to bungle his pawn majority away on the king side, but it doesn't matter. Here come the queen side pawns. And it goes on for a little bit more here. I guess it's going to go on to mate, believe it or not. Now the king is in danger. He's cut off. And check and mate. There you have it. Okay, let's bring up the other game. Okay, so another example of pushing, why those pushing those rook pawns is absolutely terrible. And uh-oh, guess what? If you were sharp, you saw something. Okay, rematch. And guess what Black does? A6. Congratulations. You've just played another rook pawn move that's absolutely terrible. Okay? And okay. Obviously what Black is afraid of is knight b5. Oops, it's going back too far. Come on, chess.com. Don't lag so much on me. All right. Again, develop a piece. Is White planning to play this move? I don't think so, because it doesn't go anywhere. White can't force a win down here. That's something that happened to you when you were in the first grade, okay? It doesn't happen to you in real chess with adults when you have hours to decide on a move. Just guard it. White can't take advantage of this. Now you're going to kick this knight out. It's going to go right back where it came from. And guess what? You get to go threaten it too if you want. Or you can, let's make a developing move for White. Kick it out. Get rid of that threat once and for all. Now if you don't, you can make the threat, but White will cover it too. Or just get this knight back into play. Okay? He'll find a way in the game soon enough. Okay? And you've got 3 pieces out. One more than White. Right? 1, 2, 3. Now, White will catch up and develop because he's opened up the diagonal for his bishop, and Black's hasn't. But a totally even game without any weaknesses in your pawn structure. Okay? You don't need to push these rook pawns. It's an internet-created defense that's just bad. You won't find a grandmaster that recommend anywhere or a book that recommends this. So, there goes one rook pawn, and guess what? Uh-oh, there goes the other one. Once again, absolutely horrible move. Doesn't develop anything. White's not even planning to put anything on g5. Not in his wildest dreams is he planning to put anything there. But you know what? White doesn't take advantage of this, and Black gets a playable game. We'll maybe see if we can find any ideas for White to try to capitalize on this. But you see, the remarkable thing is books and databases are available, and I'm sure the position, even after White played 3 bishop f4, the position was in the books. Black could look it up and get a perfectly playable game. Okay? So knight e5 might be a little bit premature. You don't want to trade pieces when you're ahead in development. You don't want to move a piece twice. You want to get more pieces in the game. You can play queen d2, let him move a piece twice. Then you can take it. He takes back. And let's see, maybe your knight gets a little menaced. Maybe this is a good time to push a rook pawn of your own. Let's bother that bishop a little bit. What else could be possible here? One idea is to play knight a5. The idea behind that is to play c4 and then try to open up the c file and then occupy the c5 square with the knight. I mean, there's all kinds of plans here. None of it's forced. Black's, whoops, going a little too quick. Black's behind in development because his pawn structure is weak, but with his development advantage, White could find some different plans here. So this just allows some trading of minor pieces. and that kind of reduces white's advantage. And black offers more trades, and there they go. So to some degree, black, or to a large degree actually, black has escaped danger here, and his rook pawn moves are now actually strengths. White would like to use the b5 square, but he can't. Okay, white wouldn't necessarily want to use the g5 square, but nonetheless he can't. So I think it's safe to say black has managed to equalize this, and that's because the way white's conducted his middle game, not completed his development, and just traded pieces. So white decides to redeploy his knight, but his pawn structure, the white pawn structure is kind of bad here. They're on the same color as the black bishop, and it could be a potentially lethal piece in a minor piece ending. But some more trades. White's not really being ambitious. He's just trading pieces. And now we have a rook coming down. Let's trade some more. Okay. And, I think with correct play, the game is a draw. But black's going to find a way to bungle it. And both sides are going to find a way to bungle it. You'll be surprised what happens. Okay, so now white's managed to win a pawn for what it's worth, but the black queen is more active than the white queen. So black has some compensation here. He's restraining this pawn from advancing. The white queen can't really get into play, so white tries to find a way to get his king into play, and all this is going to do is cost him a pawn. And here he gives it up directly, but black should just keep checking and then just keep his queen where it's at if white runs his king back over, and an easy draw is in hand. But now I think it's a mistake here to start locking up the pawns as white is doing. There's no flexibility anymore, and black's managed to centralize his king and coming over to assist on that b pawn, which was going nowhere. And I think the game is dead even, but it's not going to end dead even. There's still some surprises yet, and here comes the surprise. Now black has managed to win back his 2 pawns, and with correct play, this is a draw. Okay, well, all white needs to do is just put his queen on c2, and you got some chances to maybe penetrate with the queen. And if black decides to take a perpetual check, well, you let him. This is the time to call it a draw. Instead, white proceeds to go into a completely lost ending. Don't know what he was thinking here, but black's the one with king position. Black is winning. And no matter what white does, he's busted. But, as I said, there's some twists and turns here. And black manages the way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. The simple move to play is let white run out of pawn moves. Bring the king to b4. Now, it doesn't matter what white does. Eventually, this king is going to have to give ground. You want to push e5 now? Okay. Guess what? Your king just gave ground. Guess what? You lost your pawn. And I think all of us know how easy of a win this is for black. Okay? You want to try something different for white? I'll take the pawn. Okay, guess what? You're still going to lose the pawn on d4. Okay? You can't hold it. Black has the stronger position. How white could go into this ending without seeing that black has better king position, will quickly win, and how black could then proceed not to find the winning line, but to find a losing line, because white's going to win this game, is just beyond me. Comes to one of my major contentions. You guys are playing too fast. You're not analyzing. Okay, so what does black do to lose this? Any move, but just about any move black can play here wins. Well, any reasonable move. You don't want to give up a free pawn or something, but instead, whoops, he doesn't play there. Instead, black activates the white king. Well, thank you very much. And now look at that white king. He's off and running. So let's see how it finishes. So he plays f6 to keep white out, but no avail. d5. Now I'm ready to take and push right by. So black has to take. And now suddenly it's white that has the king position. The black pawns are going to fall, not the white pawns. The black king is too far from the board. So let's run through the moves. And he played this one on to mate too. Just munch. And there is no hope. There is no hope whatsoever. And it ends in a mate here in about a couple more moves. There it is. So let's back up slightly to when black took the pawn. As I was saying, just about any other move wins. But even if, what about king c4? Okay. Let the white king in. Now king d3. Now how do you want to do this? Now black could have triangulated and been on c4 right now, but let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. Let's go here. Take the pawn. Let's just count it out. Okay, now let's take this. Now if you come this way, I think I can take this. You go there. I go here. You take. That might draw. Let's see. King here. I think you have to take this one first. And bingo. You save the pawn and win the game. So I analyzed that out in 2 minutes. Why didn't black take 3 minutes and see a little deeper? Okay. So black should have won this game, but he didn't. Black shouldn't be pushing his rook pawns, but he got away with it. And hopefully this provides more of examples of what to do against these rook pawn pushes. I gave some ideas for white other than trading his minor pieces. And I don't know how many we only have. At this moment, I have 2 videos to make of 4 games. I haven't looked them over yet, and there are 23 games remaining. Is it 23 or 28? 27, I think it's 27 games remaining in the match, so hopefully there won't be too many more rook pawn pushes. And there are some games that won't have videos made because Carpe Diem won the game, or won the 2-board match, and then we had a lot of early forfeits. But I'm just wondering how many rook pawn pushes we won't be seeing. Hopefully we don't see too many more or any more at all. And I want to thank everyone for their time. Thank you.